another, let's switch gears and talk about, with the draft coming up. I think it'll be a shame if I didn't ask you about, Shaedon Sharpe, the mystery man of this draft. How did that relationship start with you and Shaedon?
No, Shaedon came to our program 11th grade, 11 years old. And, he just decided he wanted to put the work in. So I typically work with people who have a strong belief in themselves, but it's going to put the work in and high character. So that's why you see me with a lot of these guys, the Josh Primo, the Andrew Nimhards, the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, the RJ Barrett, the Shaedon Sharpe. All these guys, I hope to get them to that level because I have a unique ability to kind of get the best out of them based on how their body moves, how they think, and give them the skill set and the mental approach and, making sure they excel very quickly. And so, he's a mystery because he didn't play. He got to school, I think January 8th he got there. And I think by the 23rd, he was able to play. He had enough practices and team was doing really, really well. I was trying to get ready for the following year. But then by the time it got so late, didn't end up playing. Tested the waters, liked what he heard, and now he's in the draft. Kentucky's such a fantastic program with great people, great coaches. Sometimes when you make decisions, you change your mind. People who want something to happen or felt like you change your mind, they get upset because they're hungry for a championship. Kentucky is one of the greatest basketball programs, regardless of NBA or college in the world. Great tradition. They got Adolph Rupp. They've been doing it. They were one of the first teams to bring in Black players to come in when, segregation. So they've broken a lot of barriers. I love that. And more importantly, he went there because Shai Gilgeous had a great career. But, people get upset when they hear certain things, and you have the media changing narratives when they get embarrassed. So all you can do is do what's best for you at the time, and that's what he's doing. But he's not really a mystery to everybody. You can't be Canadian and be the number one player in the world. That includes the U.S. if you're a mystery. Like they knew who he was. The NBA guys were at the NBA guys were at the EYBL stuff. It would have been great to see him play, but you know what? Everybody has a different path. Some of the people upset of him, they had to take different roads and had to do audibles in their lives, right? I'm just happy that he's such mentally tough. We train our guys to be mentally tough, that at 18, 19, he can take people DM him all these things as if it's Jackie Robinson. That's the worst part about it. You got people who are representing the fan base who really don't represent the fan base. They're just vile people and attacking little kids. And it's really disrespectful because you're giving Kentucky a bad name because that's not really how the fan base is. But, some people you got to make tough decisions in life. These are first world problems. Yeah. These are first world problems. I think there's billions of people that would trade places with him and his decisions. So you take everything in stride.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Kentucky, prestigious program, blue blood. They want to win championships. It's almost like the Lakers and the Celtics, right? Like they want to win. And
the Knicks, yeah.
But we haven't been winning. We haven't been winning.
You haven't won. I know. I don't think they've won. They haven't won since 2010. They haven't won in a while. I can't remember the time, but we were trying to get them a championship. And there's a lot of people like me that send kids there that put time out of our lives and away from our kids to help people to get them to situations like that. And it's going to be tough. People were treated a certain way by a small group of fans. But frustration is one thing, but you're always defined in your worst moment and how you handle adversity. More importantly, how you handle change. And so he was prepared for this and the worst. It was a decision he had to make. He made it for his career. And like I said, there are guys there that I really hope, and I believe they're going to take care of Oscar Tshiebwe and guys like that who are phenomenal. I just hope that energy goes on those guys for positive as opposed to, but in any fan base you have that. So don't feel bad for him. Don't feel bad for me. Don't feel bad for anyone. These are first world problems. You know what I'm saying? Kentucky's phenomenal. Like I bought a house there last year when Shaedon went there thinking that he was going to be there. Because I'm going to send so many kids here. So I still have a house there that we bought, when he went there that I bought. But anyway, he's going to be phenomenal. Honestly, he's the most talented player I ever coached.
Really?
He's the most talented player I ever coached, hands down. Not close, hands down.
And I'm sorry. Like, why do you say like he's the most talented? I mean, a lot of kids, a lot of lottery picks, a lot of,
It's pretty evident. you have to have a checklist criteria. I have a 10-point checklist. I'm not going to go through all of them, but on that 10-point scale, that 10-point, and then you have a scale of 1 to 10. When I do those numbers, he ranks the highest. Now to ability, length, strong lower body, poise, shot making, shot creation, finishing through contact, passing ability, size for position, et cetera, et cetera. I can go down the list. Now I have a checklist. I should sit with them and share this with them when they're little. And I manage to say, now you're at a 5, now you're at a 6. So they see the progress on themselves. They make their own goals. So his goals are so high. RJ's goals are so high. Shay's goals are so high that no matter what anybody says, hey, you had 30, you played well. They don't feel like they play well because their goals can never be, you can never have higher goals than people who are trying to be great. And so I don't work with anybody who don't have goals that are so high, it makes people think you're crazy. If you have goals that are just average, you don't need somebody like me. I'm a specialist. What I do is train the mind. I help to get the most out of you. If we were in 1960, I'd be doing the same thing for baseball. If we were in, 800 BC, I'd be doing the same thing for gladiators. It's just, there's certain people and mentors that can get the most out of you regardless of what you're doing. And having a teaching background, for me, that's something that I excel in. So the truth is, he's definitely the most talented. It's not close. What I can say is that I wish he would have played. It would have been good if you could have played. But when people realized that he was eligible, because we knew he was eligible when we went there, we just was like, we're not going to entertain him because he need to play. All the energy that was so negative when people thought that he might leave was really, really pushed it over the top. It was pretty bad. It was like, you got to really consider this.
Like a stab in the back. Wow. Wow.
Well, not a stab in the back, but more like you got to give people room to make decisions based on new information. Because everybody who's making those judgments, they had that decision every day of their life. They have it in their life, or they're going to have it every day of their life. What decision do you make? So you got to understand these are still people. These are still young people. And when you do that, a lot of young people, their frontal lobe is not developed. So they're going to make decisions, where it's like, hey, it might not be long-term decisions. And he made the right decision for him. But what I can say is that nobody owns anybody. And it's an institution. The purpose of going to college is to eventually use that to get a career, have a job, right? So if you were a fighter pilot and the Air Force came and said, hey, we think that we can hire you right now, and you entertain it and talk it over with your family and say, I'm going to do this. If people were upset with you at the flight school, that's not a you problem, right? So
I agree.
What I appreciate is that at a young age, he's showing great maturity, because some of these guys can't take that, and they're 40 years old. They get upset and they want to road rage fight somebody for crossing them over. But this kid's getting it from thousands of people. And the fact he's handling it means that he's ready. He's going to be definitely ready to lead a franchise if you can handle that, So I'm looking forward to him. But it's going to be a great draft.
No, I agree with what you're saying. He's only 18 years old, and for him to be going through this type of scrutiny is kind of crazy. I think that mental battle and that mental, that's gonna thicken him, and when he gets to that NBA stage, he'd be able to take those hits and take those bullets. I think, the mental part is one of the hardest parts to really overcome in the game of basketball. Everybody's talented to a certain extent, and, when you get to that level, but, it's the mental hurdles that really separates. And it's good to hear that, he has that locked down, right? Especially with no film. But as far as, the way he plays, what NBA comp would you give him, working so closely with him and seeing him develop his game? If you're able 5 years down the line, what comp would you give him?
I would give him, if I had to pick one person, or can I mix the two?
Pick whatever you want.
I would give him a Brad Bill type game with a Zach LaVine athleticism.
Okay.
Like with the length. And I know Brad used to be very athletic as well, but I would say that's kind of like his style. He has a great pace about him, so I think that's why people see Devin Booker. Devin is a pure scorer, but I would say like a Brad Bill with the length of Zach LaVine and the pace of Devin Booker. Now, you put up these big names and people go, woo, woo, woo. But remember, when these guys were coming out, Zach LaVine went 13. Devin Booker went 13.
Yep. Overlooked.
Bradley Beal, I believe, went number 3. So if you really look at it, and Devin Booker didn't start. Zach LaVine was a 6-man. I think he averaged 10 points. Devin Booker, I believe, averaged 10 points as well.
Coming off the
Brad
bench.
Beal's appeared, you come off the bench. So if you had these guys at the same stage and you had them and didn't know who's going to be what, you would say, yeah, he looks like he's right there or same level, maybe a little better in some areas. It's just hindsight makes you look like you're smarter than you are. So that's why I know he is not really worried about where his position he's going to. It's all about the team you go to. Because think about how crazy this is. Devin Booker went 13. It's crazy.
It's crazy, insane. And he's
Kobe,
like what, a top 15 player right now in the league. So yeah.
Kobe Bryant, not to be blasphemous, he's a great. He went 13.
Mm-hmm.
And they traded him down to the Lakers because they traded for Divac, who was an all-star. So, and he came out of high school. He was supposed to go to Duke, but he didn't, as you probably know.
Yep.
And there was very little video, but he was playing against the people they put in front of him. Shaedon's knock is he didn't play when guys were hurt. He made a decision for himself. If he plays and he gets hurt and he's not ready for the next year, then what do you do? If he plays and scores a whole bunch of points, guess what happens? He displaced a whole bunch of kids on that team. And now the next year, kids that's there looking behind that back thinking somebody might take this spot in the middle of the year. Everything's about winning that championship. I get it. But sometimes you build relationships with people and you just like, I don't really want to take, I feel kind of uncomfortable. These guys trying to get to the same spot. I'm here. I'm like the guest in the house, and now they want me to just get the big piece of chicken. You know what I'm saying? I can't. Sometimes you got to look at, people keep forgetting that piece. I kind of know what happened, and it's kind of like it's a mish of a lot of things. They say, well, guys were hurt. Well, they're hurt. When they come back, does that mean you go on the bench? What does that mean for you? So you got to take all of it in. It's just not, everybody wanted to be a video game. You just plug them in and do that, and they're ready to go. And it's not a video game. There's people, emotions, and you like trying to be respectful. Team was a top 5-4 team for a while. I think had the team got to the Final Four like Duke, or they had won that first game, I don't think it'd be as bad. But when you lose, and then the year before, when you doesn't go as well with you, people get frustrated. They want to win, but you can never succumb to the pressures of the mob. If you know that you have a pace and you have a plan, you can't do that. You can't do that. There's somebody that's going to knock on your door and say, hey, can your son come out at 10 o'clock at night? We're all here having fun. And you're like, no, oh, come on, mom, come on, dad. If you know you have a long-term plan for yourself and your family, you can't just succumb to the pressures of others if you have your own individual plan. If he felt they really, really needed him, I think he would have did it. But I think he really thought that they was an amazing team. Like he was like, I'm helping them in practice, But nobody cares what you think when they want what they want. We're human beings. It's human behavior 101. Everybody wants their way. Everything could be done. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, keep going.
No, you got to always make decisions left or right. You're going to be scrutinized. You got to be able to live with it. That's part of life. These are first world problems. It's just sport. He's able to learn from that. But what he is going to learn is that you can't let a small group of people mess it up for the masses. Because that place, I've sent many a kid, or advised many a kid to take a look at Kentucky for the exact reason that he's being scrutinized, which is the fact that the fans and the media, they hold you to the fire. If you get out of there, if you got to places like there, you can go and play New York and LA. It's no big deal. Shea went there, then he went to the Clippers. He was like, the Clippers was nothing because he dealt with Kentucky. So you go there to be conditioned to make that cold out of mind, whether it's on the court or off the court. But mostly it's off the court. Because the media, they treat you like you're in the NBA. The fans, that's their NBA team. I love it personally. I love
it. And I know Shaedon's getting some advice from RJ because RJ plays for the Knicks, and you know how Knicks fans get. They boo you right there on the spot if they don't feel like you're playing with enough effort.
I love it.
It's beautiful, and it meshes with RJ's personality, and it's just a wonderful thing to see, people being able to build that mental toughness in the league. Going right to his play, watching his AAU games on YouTube, the popular ones, watching the Peach Jam and watching him go off. To me, he looks like, if we're talking about, the younger generation, he's looking like, Anthony Edwards and the Jalen Green, in that mold, right? And if an NBA team is, gets the opportunity to take him, like say like he goes past 5, that's an instant steal, right? And you're able to get this kid within your program and then develop him and have him come along the right way. Um, I gotta ask you, is the 50-inch vertical real? I'm hearing 50, I'm hearing 48, I'm hearing
No,
44.
it's not 50, man. I think it's 44 inch. I think it's definitely 44.
Okay, 44. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Somebody said 48, but I didn't do that. I was his high school coach. But if I had to straight, I think it's 44.
So he's
But
gonna
it's
be
also about the grace. Like a lot of guys can jump. He's a 2-foot jumper like Vince Carter, but he has grace to move his upper body with that, which is more like would you like Shea Gilgis? Would you rather be fast? Would you rather have length and no use angle? So I think how he uses it probably looks a little more special.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's how you use things. But I honestly think it's 44.
Okay, so and then to whatever team he gets drafted to, what do you think is the immediate skill he'll be able to give an NBA team, right? Because you would think they wouldn't give him the ball and just say, okay, here you go, right? I mean, in some situations they probably won't let him do that, and he has to come in the system and get in where he fits in type of thing, right? What
Yeah.
what immediate skill do you think he'll be able to contribute to a team for winning basketball,
I think
right?
immediately he can force a double team. I think he can make two people guard him.
Okay.
I think he'll be able to get into space um, with how he uses his body and force a double team. I think he can get his own. He'll be able to create shots on a one-on-one, especially after some practices where he understands the speed of the game, the pace. And defensively, I think his long arms allows him to really be a good defender, especially in space or rotating with his length and his quickness. There's a lot of misconceptions because you got to scrutinize, and you should scrutinize. When people take you in the top in the lottery, they got to scrutinize you. So we like the scrutiny because it allows you to know what to work on. I always say, you are playing against you. How would you guard you? What would you do?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he goes out in every practice, is trying to guard himself. So his strengths are always being improved, but more importantly, his weaknesses are always being developed because he's always shadow boxing. When you shadow box, you got to be just that much quicker, that much on point to be able to beat yourself. You can do it. So we're not really subjected to what other people think. His training methods and what I designed for him is something that is so significant that he's going to have an impact, whatever the coach needs, because he has that athletic ability and talent, which is the key.
Dope. Sounds good to hear. Can't wait to see where he gets drafted at and to follow his NBA journey. Can't wait. Before I let you go,